Good morning, everyone. Today we are doing a special coffee tasting. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor, and today we're featuring a local small business here in Palm Springs, California. We are featuring the coffee house Earnest Coffee, and we're going to explore a little bit about the history of this particular small business, and then we're going to learn a little bit about the people who supply this business with their coffee. The people who supply the business or their coffee is Stumpton Coffee. They were founded in 1999. So we're going to learn a little bit about this coffee, a little bit about this small business, and we're going to brew their coffee three different ways. So, welcome everyone. If you guys are joining me for the first time, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. If you guys are returning, welcome back. I appreciate you guys tuning in for a second or third or more than that coffee tasting. With this particular blend, we're going to get some citrus notes with dark chocolate. And then this blend is a three region blend. So a lot of the times when you get like a blend, it's generally like two coffees mixed together. This one is going to be three regions mixed. So we have Indonesian, Africa, and Latin America. And the Indonesian coffees are going to give us those complex flavor notes, while the African coffee is going to give us those bright citrusy flavors, and the Latin American is going to give us those dark chocolate flavors. This is a very, very complex cup of coffee, and I wanted to brew this cup of coffee three different ways instead of the two different ways that we normally brew our coffee. Normally on this channel, I like to brew on the French press and the pour over because they're kind of like opposite spectrums. We get different flavor notes from the different brew method, even though we're using the same coffee. Um, but because this coffee is so complex and the flavors are so intense, I wanted to throw in the Chemix as well to give us a much lighter flavor compared to the pour over and the French press. So with the French press, we're going to get a lot more sediments than both the other brews, and then with the pour over, we're going to get a more of a brighter flavor from less of those sediments getting through. And then with the Chemex, we're going to get an even lighter cup of coffee because a lot less of those oils and almost no sediment is getting through because of that triple paper filter. So I just want to thank you guys again for joining me in today's live stream. Today is a particularly important live stream because it's all about supporting the small businesses and the local coffee shops here in our town and in your town as well. Because we can take a break out of our normal routine from our normal coffee shop that we go to and visit just the hole in the walls that we've never visited to, not just to explore the coffee, but to help support those smaller businesses that don't see as much traffic. But another important part is to explore the different coffees that you wouldn't necessarily get to experience outside of the normal walls that your daily routine resides in. So I would definitely encourage you guys to break your current routine and visit the local hole in the wall coffee shop and support the local businesses and um, just encourage that small town feel of a coffee shop with the Earnest coffee shop downtown Palm Springs. It has a really interesting vibe. It's got like a very homey vibe with a rustic feeling because of the decorations on the inside. And then you have a really strong connection with the baristas right off the bat. They're very talkative. They connect with you. Um, and I actually got to talk to one of their workers about coffee, and it was very interesting. He explained to me all the different coffees that they have to offer, and he told me a little bit about Stumpton Coffee and how Hairbender is everyone's favorite because of how intense the flavor is. And let me tell you, the flavor on this particular cup of coffee does have its complexity. It is a very, very intense cup of coffee. All right, I'm going to grab some more water. I'll be right back, you guys. All right, and so when you're brewing three different ways, the different brew methods are going to get different like grinds, proportion, and then how you brew the coffee is very important too. So when you brew a pour over and a Chemex, what you want to do is you want to, when you begin the pour, you want to just pour around like 40 grams of water, or maybe even just count to like 10 when you pour, and then you just stop and then let the coffee bloom. So when you let the coffee bloom, what that is it's letting the air at the bottom of the grinds escape through the top. So when you pour all the water all at once, we're trapping the air at the bottom of the grinds, and it slows down the brew process. And when you slow down the brew process, you're actually changing the flavor. You don't want that to happen because it impacts the flavor in a negative way. So the reason why we do this is so that the brew process is happening at the right amount of time that it's supposed to elapse, so that we're not over brewing, over steeping, and that we're getting those right flavors. So with the Chemex, the grind that we want to use is going to be a medium grind, but it's going to be on the closer side to French press on the medium grind. If you have a grinder and it's a setting, it would probably number setting. For my grinder, it's a number 7, while the French press is a number 9. And then the pour over is going to be a little bit on the finer side of the medium, and that is going to be a 5. So we grind the paper filter on a number 5 setting, the Chemex on a number 7, and then the French press on a number 9, which is the actual French press setting on the dial. So we have coarse, uh, medium, semi coarse, and then medium grind. And getting those proper grinds for your coffee is going to be very important, because the grind and proportion of beans is going to be important to getting the right flavor out of your coffee. Because if you get the wrong proportion, you might get a cup that comes out too bitter, and then you might say to someone that you don't like that particular blend or that particular cup of coffee, when in actuality you might not have had that particular cup of coffee brewed the way it's supposed to be brewed. So that's why proportion, grind, freshness is very important when brewing coffee, you guys. So if you guys have any questions about like the different proportions and measurements that I'm using for these different brew methods, go ahead and throw that down into chat. I'd love to answer you guys' questions. And then if you guys have a favorite brew that you guys like to drink, throw that down into chat too. I would love to feature your guys' favorite coffee. You know, get to explore your guys' favorite blends, and then maybe even teach you a little bit about your favorite coffee when I go in and do a little bit of research about it. Maybe teach you something you didn't know. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to taste the pour over of the Stumpton's Hairbender blend. So with the Hairbender blend, we are getting complex notes from the Indonesian coffee, and then we get those bright citrusy flavors from the African coffee, and then those dark chocolate notes from the Latin American blend. So this is a 3-region blend created from Stumpton. Ooh. All right. So we're getting those complex flavors. It's very bright and citrusy, and then it washes away with like a milk chocolate mouthfeel, or almost a dark chocolate mouthfeel. Actually, it's a little bit more darker than milk chocolate. Really smooth on a pour over. It's a little brighter than I like, but that is still really, really good. All right. So now we're going to try the Chemix. So with the Chemix, it's going to be much lighter than the actual pour over. And the reason why it's going to be lighter than the actual pour over is because the triple filter paper is going to allow less oils to make its way through and less sediment as well. We're already getting very little sediment because the paper filter does catch it all, but anything that the paper filter isn't catching in a normal pour over is going to be caught in the Chemex. So this is going to be a very, very clean cup of coffee. There's not going to be a whole lot of sediments and oils in here. So we're still getting that flavor, but it's going to be very smooth and clean. And anyone who has like a sensitive stomach to the oils and the sediment of coffee, if you get an easily upset stomach from drinking a dark roast or a French press cup of coffee, the Chemex might be good for you because you're getting less oils and less sediment. And so that's also going to impact the flavor, but it could also be a choice you make because of a lifestyle that you have or medical condition. Oh, wow. So with the Chemex, that is crazy. So with the Chemex, not a whole lot of that bright citrusy flavor is making its way through. That is really, really good. We do get a little bit of that bright citrusy flavor. I thought that bright citrusy flavor is going to come through a lot more than the pour over, but it's actually dying down the citrusy flavor and allowing more of those dark chocolate flavors to come forward. This is a really, really smooth cup of coffee. I really like this. That is good. You get those really, really smooth dark chocolate notes with a little bit of bright citrusy flavors. Not too much. That's really good. I'm gonna have to go back for some more, or I should save it for when I talk about this particular coffee. Yeah. All right. So now let's try the French press. So with the French press, we're gonna get a lot more of those oils. We're gonna get a lot more of those sediments. So we're gonna get a much darker cup of coffee. So on the pour over, we had that really bright citrusy flavor that took the front seat. Wasn't too intense, but it was definitely driving the cup of coffee. With the Chemex, it was a much more balanced, but very mellow, very smooth. So there was not a whole lot of flavor going on. It was very delicious, but the flavor wasn't very impactful. So with the French press, we're gonna get somewhat of like a Chemex feel, but on a much darker level. It's gonna be much stronger. And the reason why it's we're gonna get like that Chemex feel is it comes from that balance. Those sediments are gonna come forward and bring out some of those bitter flavors, and it's going to match up with those bright citrusy flavors that you got in the pour over. And so when those bitter flavors come up, it's not really taking control of the cup of coffee. It's really meeting the citrus levels on the same plane to where they can complement each other and make a more balanced cup of coffee, just like the Chemex did. The Chemex I thought was going to be too bright and too acidic, almost like kind of like a black tea. But those milk chocolate or the dark chocolate flavors really came forward, and I was very surprised by that. That's really good. So as I smell the French press, I'm definitely getting those dark chocolate whiffs. It definitely has that dark chocolate smell. Oh yeah. Okay. So with the French press, we're getting a lot more of those dark chocolate mouthfeels, and then we are still getting that bright citrusy flavor as well. This is really good. It's really bold cup of coffee. So when you try it on the Chemex, it doesn't linger very long. It's a very smooth cup of coffee. that clears away from the palate pretty quickly. But with this, on the French press, because we have those extra sediments in the cup of coffee, we're getting some of those bitters and a little bit of those bright acidic flavors, but mainly those bitters that are attaching to the center of the tongue. So we're left with this like after note of the dark chocolate. So we do get like a balanced flavor at the very beginning where we're getting a little bit of the citrus flavor and a lot of the dark chocolate flavor meeting each other to balance each other out. But then as the palate washes away, the dark chocolate flavor starts to take control of the palate. And that is really good. That's what I look for when I drink coffee. Is any kind of coffee with like a milk chocolate, dark chocolate notes with like a caramely sweetness or a toffee nut sweetness. Um, because those caramely notes and the milk chocolate flavors really balance out and make it for a smooth, light roast cup of coffee. Not like a bold, roasty flavor or not like a bright, too citrusy tea flavor either. So I tend to go for like the Latin American cup of coffee. And then with the French press, we're really getting those Latin American dark chocolate notes out of this particular Hairbender blend. And then if you do want those those dark chocolate notes with the citrusy flavors, but you don't want the citrusy flavor to really control the cup of coffee, I would go with the Chemix. The Chemix is delicious, super smooth, and has those dark chocolate mouthfeel. Excellent, perfect. So now that we've tasted our coffee and we've brewed it three different ways, let's learn a little bit about the coffee that we're drinking right now, or the company that we got this coffee from. So the coffee shop that I got this particular blend from is called Earnest Coffee Shop, and it is located in downtown Palm Springs, uh, 100 or 1101 North Palm Canyon Road, and it started off as a restaurant back in the day. And the restaurant was founded by Ernest Raymond Gant in 1953, and it was called it was a tiki restaurant, and so this particular coffee shop has dedicated its name to the founder of this tiki restaurant, and then has also kept most of the decorations up in tribute to this tiki restaurant. And so the founder of the tiki restaurant is Ernest Raymond Gant, and so that's where the name of the coffee shop comes from, Earnest Coffee Shop. And so it's dedicated to this small business that existed in Palm Springs in 1953. And in 2013 is when Earnest Coffee Shop arose and started serving the coffee that we have here today, which is supplied by Stumpton Coffee. Now, Stumpton Coffee is also another coffee roasting company that not a lot of people have heard of. It provides exceptional cups of coffee, and they really highlight the farmers and really tell the story of the farmers, which is really cool that we get to explore a little bit about where the coffee comes from and get to meet the family. They recently came out with a new coffee that I'm going to explore here soon, and we get to meet the family who grew the coffee. So I'm really excited about that. But with this particular blend, it is a three-region blend, and it's called Hairbender blend, and it was named after one of the first beauty salons in the region that this company was founded. So it was named after Hairbender, and this particular cup of coffee has citrus and dark chocolate notes. And Hairbender Stumpton Coffee was founded in 1999, and it was the first blend that was ever made uh, by the gentleman who founded the Stumpton Coffee. Uh, and the founder of Stumpton Coffee, his name is Dwayne Serrano Sarensen. Sorry, Dwayne. I had it all written down, and I can't read my own chicken scratch. So there's that. But this particular cup of coffee, it was it was founded in 1999, and now we're being supplied, drinking it through Earnest Coffee. So it's just one of these things where we're exploring coffee through a small business and helping several different small businesses thrive by getting their name out there and exploring what they have to offer. That was a close one. And so that's really the passion behind these coffee tastings, is like learning a little bit about the culture, and learning a little bit about where our coffee comes from. And so with this particular coffee, we're really supporting the local small business here in Palm Springs and really encouraging people to take a break from their normal routine to visit a hole in the wall coffee shop that you wouldn't normally visit, and really exploring the different flavor notes that that particular coffee has. And then at the same time, we're also helping other small business coffees or small businesses thrive too, because small business coffee shops are most likely being supplied by coffee from another small business roasting plant. So with this, we're supporting a local small business, Earnest Coffee, and then we're supporting another small business, Stumpton Coffee, uh, by really encouraging people to go out there and visit these small hole in the wall coffee shops, and really supporting your local community by, like I said, breaking your normal routine, even if it's just one day out of the week, and really visiting that place that you wouldn't normally visit. And so that is Earnest Coffee and Stumpton Coffee. I really encourage you guys, if you guys are visiting Palm Springs or if you guys live in Palm Springs, to stop by Earnest Coffee, grab a cup of coffee of their Hairbender blend. They have much more to offer there as well. They have exotic lattes as well, like lavender and rose and other things like that. So uh, give them a good look into. Stop by. They are a little busy, but they're busy because they give you that feeling of like a rustic coffee shop that you only get from them. You don't get that experience from anywhere else, and that's what's important about it, is that feeling you get. And then the just being able to explore different coffees that you wouldn't normally get to explore in the normal walls that we stay in. So thank you everyone for joining today's coffee tasting. I hope you guys thought it was really cool. We got to explore a local small business, and we got to explore a new brewing process, the Chemix. If you guys would like me to continue to do the three different brewing processes, the Chemix, the pour over, and the French press, go ahead and throw that down in the chat. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on what kind of brew processes you like to see me to do. And then again, if you guys have a favorite blend of coffee, go ahead and throw that down in the chat as well. I would love to feature your guys' coffee and really taste those flavor notes, and then teach you a little bit about where your favorite coffee came from. Thanks again for joining. Have a great day, and don't forget to visit your local coffee shop.